What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. And I thought today was a good day to take a look at some recent sales for CGC graded Star Wars comics. I've got a pretty wide range of grades as well as books and eras to talk about, key issues, and as we've talked about in past videos, the Star Wars comic book market, like the rest of the market, is pretty much dead. Every spec that you can think of that was out there has pretty much died on the vine, and nobody seems to really care about anything Star Wars as it relates to comic books. But if you have money right now, now's a great time to be picking up some key issues for your collection because prices are way down. And I wanted to kind of cover the whole gamut, everything from some of the vintage key issues all the way to recent releases. So without further ado, I want to dig right in. And I've got a number of different grade points for Star Wars #1, the book that started it all. We all know how expensive it is in a CGC 9.8, but what about lower grades? Most of us can't afford, myself included, believe me, a CGC 9.8 white pages for Star Wars #1. It's just too expensive, even after the recent dip. But that doesn't mean there's not good deals out there, and I wanted to kind of cover a wide range of different grades. This one was a CGC 7.5 with white pages, and that one sold for $140-150. So again, it's not a super high grade or anything, but you know, if you want to have a Star Wars #1 that's been graded and authenticated and kind of assessed for condition, that's not a bad price point at all. Next up, we've got, let's see, an 8.5 grade with white pages. That one sold for $295, so about double what a 7.5 sold for. But really beautiful example there. No overwrap at all, as you can see on the left-hand binder there. It's very, very clean, and an excellent looking copy of Star Wars #1. Here was a 9.6 with off-white to white pages. So this obviously is pretty close to a 9.8, but it doesn't have white pages. It's got off-white to white. That one sold for $960. So again, you start to creep up from the higher grade you go, but a 9.6 with off-white pages, that's a very, very nice book and certainly would be a proud addition to any collection. Next up is another 9.6 with off-white pages. That one sold for $1175 plus $25 shipping, so about $1,200. And this one also had some Newton rings going on. If you look at the Wars section on the front, you can see the discoloration there. That's just the Newton rings from where the inner liner is rubbing up against the case, and that just can be a problem with some of these books that have been graded older over time. Whereas the new cases that CGC seems to be pumping out are really nice. They don't have any Newton rings that I've found in my last 2 orders with them. So they've done something to improve on that inner well liner to prevent that Newton ring issue that you see on this book. But anyway, that one had off-white pages, 9.6 grade. That sold for about $1,200 after shipping. This one, again, sold for $975 after accounting for shipping. So it gives you a nice tight price range for off-white pages in a CGC 9.6. This I thought was a great deal. This is Star Wars #40. This is the direct edition, and this is part 2 of the Empire Strikes Back movie adaptation. And it's got a great cover with Luke Skywalker holding his lightsaber with the AT-AT Walker looking down on him. Just a great scene. And that one was in a 9.6 grade, and it sold for $82 plus $13 shipping. This book is actually in a 9.8 has held its value pretty well, especially in a newsstand edition. You can pay easily $250 or more. I think we featured one in a what to buy video recently that was a newsstand edition, but this one was the direct edition, and again with white pages in a 9.6 grade, but a beautiful cover. Definitely want to add that one to my collection sometime soon. Now I've got a number of different grades for Star Wars #42, the first appearance of Boba Fett, the first cameo appearances of Dengar, IG-88, and Bosk, and this is the newsstand edition, so a very, very coveted newsstand. You can see the barcode there in the lower left-hand corner on the front of the book that denotes it is the newsstand edition. So pretty high grade as well. That one sold for $400, so that's well down from some of the highs. This one was a 9.6 grade in a direct edition. So you can see there it's got the Spider-Man head instead of the barcode there to show that it is the direct edition. And in a 9.6 grade white pages, that's almost a 9.8, as good as it gets. That one was listed for $750, best offer accepted. Again, versus $400 for a 9.4. Next up, we've got a 9.8 for Star Wars Republic #52. I didn't see this one. I would have been really tempted to bid at this price, but it sold for $100 with $5 shipping. It's the first cover appearance of Dirge, the Bounty Hunter, and Asajj Ventress, and just a fantastic cover. kind of a secondary key, and then a 9.8 grade with white pages. $100 is a pretty good deal. I mean, this one had been kind of 150 to 185 all day long, and to pick that up in an auction for that price, that was a steal of a deal. I haven't seen it sell that low in a very long time. Next up, Tales of the Jedi. You want to talk about a book that's had a roller coaster. When the Tales of the Jedi series got announced for Disney Plus, even informally, this book hit like $200 plus very quickly, and it has since come back down to earth. This one is a 9.8 with white pages. It sold for $71 plus $5 shipping. So that just shows you that timing is everything when it comes to buying some of these secondary key issues. And it's got a number of first appearances in it, and it's a great cover. But, you know, again, paying $71 plus $5 shipping versus $200 to $250, which was the peak for this book, that's a much more attractive price point. Next up, we've got Star Wars Jedi Mace Windu. This is a one-shot, so no number on there, and that's what the NN stands for on the label. But this is the first appearance of Asajj Ventress in comics. It's got Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson on the cover there. And this one sold for $500 plus $15 shipping. That's held up pretty well despite the downturn in the market. This was kind of $600 to $650-ish. So it has come back down, let's call it about 25% or so, 25% or so. But $500 is still a lot of money to pay for a fairly modern Dark Horse book. But it just shows you that this book has really held its value and it still is in high demand. And there's still a lot of rumors that, you know, Mace Windu might come back, that Asajj Ventress might appear in some of this Disney Plus content. Who knows if that's what's holding the book up in terms of price, but I'd be really tempted if this starts getting into the low fours, like $425 to $450. That'd be pretty a tempting price point, and it might even hit that fairly soon just in an auction, you know, a stealthy auction. Next up, we've got Clone Wars #1, the first appearance of Captain Rex and Ahsoka Tano. This one was a White Pages CGC 9.6. That sold for $1,200. A 9.8 is still kind of hovering around $1,800 to $2,200, just depending on where you're looking. But, you know, despite the Ahsoka series coming out, this book has dropped down. It got a price peak of around $3,000 to $3,300 in a 9.8 grade. So $1,200 for a 9.6 grade is probably about right. But a beautiful book and certainly very coveted by Star Wars collectors. This book was another nice one. This was Star Wars Clone Wars #4. And this one, it features Obi-Wan Kenobi in his clone trooper outfit, kind of in shackles and being auctioned off as a slave. So pretty interesting cover there. I still like Star Wars Clone Wars #2 and #7 better than this book, but this one was listed for $200 plus $17 shipping. Best offer accepted. Next up is another book that's held its value pretty well, and that's Star Wars Republic #65. And this is a key book because it's the first appearance of Barriss Offee in comics, and she's heavily rumored to be coming to the Ahsoka series, potentially Mandalorian Season 3. But there's been all kinds of rumblings that that's going to happen, and that's kind of held the price up fairly well. It peaked around $300 or so, but like everything else, it's come back down to earth a little bit. But $178.95 plus $827 shipping took that one home. Next up is Star Wars Legacy #1, the first appearance of Cade Skywalker, Darth Krayt, and a few others. Shadow, whoever that is, Sazin, I don't know who those other folks are, but really you're getting it for Cade Skywalker and for Darth Krayt, which is just a fantastic cover. And this one sold in an auction for $200 plus $10.27 shipping. That's maybe a little bit high because you can pick this up right now in a buy it now situation for $180. So this one went for a little bit higher than even some of the buy it now situations that are out there. But that was a CGC 9.8 with white pages and a fantastic cover, kind of a secondary key for some of the expanded universe characters. Darth Talon there's on the cover, Darth Krayt, but a fantastic Dark Horse book. Next up is Kanan #1, but this is the Plunket variant. This is a harder to find Plunket variant. This one peaked around $800, and it has come back down to earth as well. $515 took this one home in an auction. This is, I think, a 1-in-25 ratio cover, and this is the first cameo appearance of the Rebels team, the first full appearance of Caleb Dune / Kanan Jarrus, excuse me. And a very tough book to get in a 9.8 because of the black cover. But I don't even like this book nearly as much as the standard cover A, just in terms of the artwork. But it's very scarce. It's a tough one to find, and that gives you a data point if you're into collecting all the different covers for some of these Rebels characters. Next up is another book that continues to stay low, and that's Darth Vader #3. This is the first appearance, obviously, of Dr. Aphra and her two droids. $280 plus $18 shipping took that home. It's still hovering kind of around that same price. I did hear from a subscriber that they were able to pick this up in a CGC 9.8 away from eBay for $225. That is an insane deal. Congratulations, whoever got that, because $225 for this book is well below even current eBay prices of about $275 to a little over $300. But just a great book. Same thing with this one. This is Dr. Aphra #1, the first solo series for Dr. Aphra, and kind of a second best option if you're not willing to pay up for Darth Vader #3. This one was listed for $135, best offer accepted. That is a fantastic deal. This one, for the longest time, had been hovering around $175 to $200, and then the comic book market took a massive hit, and then it started going down to $150, and now obviously it came in below $135 plus shipping. So that's a fantastic buy, whoever got that one. I think I paid $177 for my copy. Next up, this is a book I do have in my collection, and this was a steal of a deal, whoever got it. Stealthy auction, not many bids on it, but this is Star Wars Adventures #14, the first appearance of Agent Kallus, who is also known as Fulcrum. He kind of helps out the rebels, but he's kind of an insider, infiltrator of the Galactic Empire, and he's also heavily rumored to be coming to Ahsoka or to some of these other series. I thought for sure he'd appear in the Andor series, but he has not. And as a result, this is what's called a dead spec. Nobody cares about this book at all. Again, this is the 1-in-10 ratio variant. There are not many of these graded. When I picked up mine, there were like 3 on the census in a CGC 9.8, maybe 4. But since then, other people have speculated that Agent Kallus is going to show up in Andor. It didn't happen. And as a result, this book has dropped like a rock. This one sold for $51 plus $14 shipping. And I still think it's worth picking up the 1-in-10 ratio variant. The standard cover A, which I also have in a 9.8 grade, is not nearly as nice as this one. I like this one a lot better. But if you happen to see another stealthy auction out there for $51 plus $14 shipping, that is a screaming buy. Next up, I've got Thrawn. Thrawn #1. This is his origin story, and this was a CGC 9.6 grade. That one sold for $100 free shipping. That's a good buy. In a 9.8 grade, this goes for about $175 to $200. It's kind of been holding steady at around that price point. You might get it around $150 in a stealthy auction, but in a 9.6 grade, $100. I mean, 9.6 grade is nothing to scoff at, even with these modern books. It's a great cover, and if you've read the Timothy Zahn new trilogy, it's just some of the best reading you'll ever have. And I just love Thrawn in general. He's one of my favorite expanded universe characters, and just an awesome cover. But $100 free shipping for a 9.6 grade for that book is a good buy. Next up, I want to talk about The Mandalorian #2. And if you'll remember, 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, I said The Mandalorian #2 is going to be the better long-term buy versus Mandalorian #1, because it's going to be heavily speculated for Mandalorian #1. Everyone and their mother is going to be buying Mandalorian #1, but The Mandalorian #2 is the first full appearance of Grogu in comics, and I think it's the better buy. And so far, it's held up. Now, this is the 1-in-50 Chung variant cover, so this is one I don't have in my collection yet, but it's starting to get really tempting with the prices. It hit $350, $365 when it first came out, and people started putting their 9.8 grades on eBay, and it's slowly coming back down. This one sold for $255 in an auction plus $15 shipping, but you got to think about that. A 1-in-50 for issue #1 can be had for $150. Whereas issue #2 is still right now going for $255, and this came out over a month and a half ago. So to me, this is the better long-term buy, and I think that it's starting to get really tempting at that price point. Here's another one that sold for $225 free shipping. That's the lowest price point I've seen for the 1-in-50 ratio cover. So anywhere in that price point, maybe you're patient, and I'm going to try and be patient myself. Maybe you wait until the end of the year. Maybe you wait until January, February next year, and this book's going for $180 too. I don't know. But at least right now, it seems like $225 to $275 is kind of the going rate, and a significant premium versus the 1-in-50 ratio variant for issue #1. Finally, I wanted to talk about Star Wars #26. My oh my, have the mighty have fallen. When this book first came out, it was all hyped up, and everyone's saying, oh my gosh, you got to buy this book at a 9.8. And it started selling for $160 because it's got like 6 or 7 different first appearances in it. I can't quote who they are, but everyone's saying, you got to buy it, you got to buy it. And it is an awesome cover, I'll say that. I mean, this is a fantastic cover, and I would just want it for my collection just for the cover. I mean, it's just an awesome photo. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a war kind of recruiting poster, The Path to Victory. Very simple, clean lines, just an awesome cover. That one sold for $46 plus $15 shipping versus $160 about a month ago. So that just shows you got to be patient for some of these new releases. And $46 is not much more than the cost of the book, shipping to CGC, getting it pressed and graded, and then shipping back to you. That's basically the cost to do that. So to me, that was a screaming buy. And again, it's that uncanny stash seller. He sells all these new releases he sells at auction starting at like a penny. So look for his auctions because you can get some great deals on these modern books that are heavily hyped up. And if you just wait for a month or two, you can get them for basically the cost of grading. So anyway, I hope you found this information helpful. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.